guys, it's Morgan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Volume 1 of Season 4 of Stranger Things. Now, if you haven't seen Volume 1 of Season 4 of Stranger Things, there will be spoilers in this review, so stop watching if you don't want to be spoiled. So, here's my review for Volume 1 of Season 4 of Stranger Things. The opening of each season of Stranger Things has always done a great job at making the audience want to find out more. And this season's opening was no exception, since it started with a flashback of what looked like Eleven killing everyone except Dr. Brenner at Hawkins' lab. And she clearly freaked out Dr. Brenner since he asked her what she did, but it didn't stop him from continuing to experiment on her. It was cute listening to the letter that Eleven wrote to Mike about how she was excited to see him for spring break. The one thing that I felt bad about, though, is when she told Mike that she made a lot of new friends, even though we saw that that wasn't true. But I was really happy to see that Dustin is still dating Susie. And I thought it was funny that he got her to hack into his school's computer system so that she could change one of his grades, even though it wasn't okay to do. I understood that Lucas wanted to be popular and didn't want to miss his championship basketball game by going to the Hellfire Club meeting with Mike and Dustin. But when Lucas asked Mike and Dustin to come to his game, I was worried that they weren't going to go and that it would affect their friendship. And they didn't go to Lucas's game, and they missed seeing Lucas get the winning basket. But luckily, it didn't affect their friendship. I felt really sorry for Eleven when she was doing her presentation about her hero, and she chose to do it on Hopper. But while she was doing her presentation, one of the girls in her class, Angela, made fun of her because they had to do their presentation on someone famous. I thought Hopper was the perfect person for Eleven to pick as her hero, so it was really heartbreaking to see how she was treated. Especially since at that moment, she still believed that Hopper was dead. When Lucas told Max that it was like she isn't here anymore, it was clear that he still cares about her even though they broke up, and I'm hoping that they'll get back together. But it was obvious that Max was hiding something, and she was going through more than just losing Billy. And since her guidance counselor asked her if she was still having headaches, it was obvious that it was something connected to that. I liked that Joyce called Murray after she was sent the creepy doll from Russia. And since, based on the end of Season 3, we knew that Hopper was in Russia, I was wondering if Hopper sent Joyce the doll to give her a clue that he's alive, or if someone else sent it to let her know that something was going on in Russia. And end, when Joyce broke the doll, she found a note telling her that Hopper was alive. It was really funny when Mike and Dustin were trying to find someone to take Lucas's spot for the Hellfire Club meeting. I really loved when Dustin was trying to get Max to join, and she sarcastically acted like she was interested, and it took Dustin a few minutes to realize she was being sarcastic. I liked that they ended up getting Erica to take Lucas's place. When Chrissy heard the voice of her mom while she was in the school bathroom, but then it turned into the voice of this season's monster, Vecna, I was thinking she was going to die, but she didn't. But when she walked into the woods, I was thinking that something was going to happen. So when she saw the clock in the tree and spiders were crawling out of it, I was thinking that that would be the moment that she was going to die. But then Eddie showed up and the clock disappeared. Even though Chrissy was dating Jason, I really liked her chemistry with Eddie. I thought they were really good together, even though they weren't together. So it was really sad when Chrissy did die. I had a mixed reaction when Eleven tried to use her powers on Angela and the other bullies. On the one hand, I was hoping that it would work so that they would know that they shouldn't mess with Eleven. But on the other hand, it was good that they didn't work, because if they did, it's pretty obvious that everyone would have freaked out and there would be lots of questions. But I still felt really sorry for Eleven. It made sense why Max told Dustin that Eddie was her #1 suspect in Chrissy's death since she saw them together, but I also understood why Dustin defended Eddie since he was the only person that was nice to him when he started high school. And sure, most likely, if Eddie told anyone what happened to Chrissy, they're not going to believe him. But based on the things that the characters from Stranger Things have gone through, they would obviously believe him. Will was right when he told Eleven that it wasn't okay that she was lying to Mike about having friends and going to parties at the roller skating rink. But it was clear that Eleven didn't want Mike to know how things were going for her. I also felt really sorry for Will since it was clear that he felt like a third wheel while he was hanging out with Eleven and Mike. And he also felt like him and Mike weren't as close as they once were. And I know I'm not the only person who's thinking this, because I saw some people talking about it online. But there have been some subtle hints that Will has a crush on Mike. So I guess we'll see what happens in Volume 2. I understood Jason's reaction when he found out that Chrissy was dead. And even though we knew that Eddie didn't kill Chrissy, it was understandable why Jason thought he did, since when the police were questioning him, they mentioned that Chrissy was buying drugs from Eddie. But I was also worried since Jason decided to go after Eddie for revenge for Chrissy's death. When Eddie's uncle was telling Nancy the story of Victor Creel and how he thought that he was responsible for Chrissy's death, and that the story was Victor had gone insane and killed his family, it made sense since Eddie's uncle said that Chrissy's body looked just like the bodies of Victor Creel's family. So it was clear that Vecna had a connection to Victor Creel. But while that was going on, I was really worried about Fred, since he walked into the woods because he heard the sound of a clock, and it was pretty obvious that something bad was going to happen. And Vecna killed him. I understood that Eleven was hurt and upset, and considering what Angela and her friends did, she had a right to be. But the fact that Eleven hit Angela with a roller skate was pretty extreme, and Mike asking Eleven what she did triggered the memory of Dr. Brenner asking Eleven what she did after the massacre at Hawkins' lab. I liked that Dustin, Max, Steve, and Robin teamed up to look for Eddie so they could prove that he didn't kill Chrissy and that there was more to it. And when they found Eddie, it was understandable that he was on edge, so it was good that they were able to convince him that they were on his side. And I understood why Eddie didn't think they would believe him if he told them what happened to Chrissy. But when Max said, "Try us," I just thought, based on the things they've experienced, they're going to believe you. I was wondering why Joyce and Murray didn't tell Eleven, Mike, Will, and Jonathan that Hopper was alive, and instead they made it seem like Murray came over for a surprise visit and that they had to go on a business trip. I mean, I understand not wanting to give them hope in case something went wrong, but they, especially Eleven, deserve to know that Hopper's alive. It was understandable when Eleven accused Mike of thinking that she's a monster, since Eleven thought that when Mike looked at her after she hit Angela with the roller skate, that he was scared of her. So it was good that Mike said that he was surprised and upset in the moment, but that he was sorry. It was also really sad when Eleven said that Mike doesn't love her because he never says it, since you could tell that Mike does love Eleven, especially when he told her that he would fix it and to stay calm when she got arrested. Even though I wasn't sure if I could trust the Russian guard Enzo at first, I was glad when he told Hopper that Joyce and Murray were coming with the money so they could take him with them. I was also worried when Hopper insulted Enzo and they started to fight, so I was relieved when it was revealed that they were acting so no one else would know what was going on. When Nancy was about to leave Dustin, Max, Steve, and Robin to go check something, I was thinking that it would be a better idea to stay with the group, and Steve was obviously thinking that too, since he said it was dangerous to fly solo with Vecna on the loose. So it was good that Steve decided to go with Nancy, but since Robin couldn't drive, she ended up going with Nancy. Now, I love Nancy and Jonathan together, but this scene proved that Steve still has feelings for Nancy, and Dustin noticed it too. And there were also other scenes that proved that. So I'm wondering if Nancy and Steve will get back together. When Jason and his friends heard that Dustin had been asking around looking for Eddie, I was hoping that Lucas would do something, since even though he wants to be popular, he knew that what Jason and his friends wanted to do to Eddie wasn't okay. So I was very glad that Lucas was able to run away from Jason and his friends so he could warn Eddie. But when Lucas told Jason and his friends that he knew where Eddie was, I was worried since Dustin told Lucas where Eddie was. So I was hoping that Lucas was going to lie. So I was very glad that he did. I thought that the reason Nancy was acting the way she was towards Robin was because she thought that Robin and Steve were together, since she doesn't know that Robin's gay. So I liked that Robin made sure that Nancy knew that Steve and her were just friends. And I also really liked that Steve didn't tell Dustin that Robin was gay, since Dustin said that the only reason Steve isn't with Robin is because he still likes Nancy. And it's good that Steve didn't tell Dustin, since Robin should be the one to tell people that she's gay. It made sense when Dr. Owens told Eleven that they needed her to help fight the danger in Hawkins, since she's dealt with these kind of things before and she was the only one who could help. But it was also understandable why Eleven thought she couldn't help, since she doesn't have her powers anymore. But Dr. Owens told her that there was a way to bring her powers back stronger than ever, and he asked her to come with him, and she agreed. Now, I've always liked Dr. Owens more than Dr. Brenner, but this scene made me like him even more, since he was giving Eleven the choice to go with him and wasn't forcing her. When Max realized that she had all of the things that Chrissy and Fred had in their guidance counselor files, it was clear that she was going to be the next person that Vecna came after. And obviously, Max thought she was going to die, since she wrote letters to her friends and family to read after she was dead. But luckily, Lucas, Dustin, and Steve were able to break Max out of the trance she was in by playing her favorite song, which made her think of her memories with her friends, and she survived. Can I just say, Sadie Sink was amazing in that scene. I understood Mike, Will, and Jonathan's reaction when they were told about the murders happening in Hawkins, and that it was best if they didn't know where Eleven was, and that they couldn't talk about it with anyone. But it was also understandable when Mike said that it was impossible. But if they wanted to keep Eleven safe, they had to. But knowing them, it was obvious they would come up with a plan to sneak out of the house. And they did, but the plan didn't really go the way they thought it would, since people were shooting guns at them. When Hopper was able to escape from the prison, I was really excited since it seemed like things were working out and he would be able to escape with Joyce and Murray. But then Yuri, who was supposed to fly them home, ended up betraying them by telling the prison warden that Enzo helped Hopper escape and letting soldiers know where Hopper was and knocking out Joyce and Murray. I felt really sorry for Victor Creel when he was telling Nancy and Robin what happened to his family. And it was even sadder to see the flashbacks. I felt really bad for Victor since he was in the mental hospital for something he didn't even do. But unless you're the main characters in Stranger Things, no one's going to believe you if you tell them a demon attacked your family. It was really emotional listening to Max reading the letter she wrote to Billy at his grave. Billy's done horrible things, but he did end up redeeming himself by sacrificing himself to save everyone. And Max clearly missed him. So it was really terrible to see Vecna use Billy to taunt Max. It was really nice when Dr. Owens told Eleven that all of the workers in the lab believe in her. And it was also really funny when he said that Eleven was bigger than Madonna to the workers. However, the fact that Dr. Owens surprised Eleven with Dr. Brenner wasn't okay. I mean, he should have at least given Eleven a heads up that Dr. Brenner was going to be there. So I didn't blame Eleven for trying to run, but she wasn't able to get away. Obviously, wherever Max ended up when she was running away from Vecna was somewhere that Vecna didn't want Max to see. And Dustin had a good point when he suggested that Max could have invaded Vecna's mind. And Nancy was pretty smart when she recognized the glass window with the rose in one of Max's drawings and connected all of Max's drawings together, and it formed Victor Creel's house. So obviously, Vecna has a connection to the house. It was really heartbreaking when Eleven woke up in Hawkins' lab and saw the drawing of her and Dr. Brenner on the wall and realized that her hair was cut. But there was clearly something else going on when Eleven met an orderly, who we later found out was One, and she started to relive the same thing over and over again, and it was revealed that she was in a simulation containing her past memories. Argyle's reaction when Jonathan, Mike, and Will were burying the dead agent was pretty understandable. But when he said that they should call the police and have them look for Eleven, I just thought, the police will probably not believe what you tell them, since the things that Jonathan, Mike, and Will have experienced are pretty hard to believe for anyone who didn't also experience them. When Hopper told Enzo that he keeps putting Joyce in danger, I just thought, it's not your fault that you guys get put in dangerous situations. And even when it does happen, You have proved that you and Joyce can get through anything. It was also heartbreaking when Hopper told Enzo about his ex-wife Diane and about his daughter Sarah who died, which we found out about in season 1. It was also really emotional when Hopper said that he always thought Eleven and Joyce needed him, but he's realized that the truth is he needed them. Joyce had a pretty good plan when she told Murray to fight Yuri since he was a black belt. But Murray also had a good point when he pointed out that even if he did knock Yuri out, they would have no one to fly the plane. So Joyce said that he didn't need to knock Yuri out, he just needed to get Yuri's gun and force him to turn the plane around. And when Murray convinced himself to fight Yuri, I was hoping things would work out, and Murray was able to defeat Yuri. But he did end up knocking Yuri out, so they didn't have anyone to fly the plane. And even though they crash landed, they survived. When Jason and his friends showed up where Eddie was hiding, I was really worried since I didn't want to see Eddie get hurt since he's a good guy and he didn't kill Chrissy. So when what happened to Chrissy happened to Jason's friend Patrick, it was obviously horrible. But I was hoping it would make Jason realize that Eddie didn't kill Chrissy. But it didn't. It made Jason think that Eddie made a pact with the devil and now has his powers. Even though I didn't like what Dr. Brenner put Eleven through, it did give Eleven back her powers for a moment. But she's going to need them back fully if she's going to fight Vecna. So even though I still don't like Dr. Brenner, it's clear that Eleven needs him to get her powers back. I love that Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle went to Susie for help, since I thought that the only times we would ever see Susie would be whenever Dustin called her. So I really loved that Mike, Will, and Jonathan got to meet Susie since they're friends with Dustin. And Mike was really smart when he realized that Susie would be able to help them get in contact with Eleven and Dr. Owens. I also thought it was really funny when Argyle met Susie's sister Eden. I understood why Mike, Dustin, and Lucas's families were worried since at the town hall meeting, Jason said that the Hellfire Club was a cult and that they were protecting Eddie. And yes, Dustin, Lucas, Max, Steve, Nancy, and Robin were protecting Eddie, but the Hellfire Club isn't a cult, and their families knew that they weren't murderers, but they were still worried that they would be in danger since other people in the town believed that the Hellfire Club was a cult. I thought it was smart of Max when, in order to make sure that the police didn't find Eddie, she, Dustin, and Lucas led them away from the boat. But when Steve told Nancy, Robin, and Eddie that he found the gate to the Upside Down, he was pulled underwater and taken to the Upside Down. So it was good that Nancy jumped in to save him, and Robin jumped in after her, and even though he didn't want to do it, Eddie jumped in too. I was worried about Steve when he was being attacked in the Upside Down, so it was a relief that Nancy, Robin, and Eddie saved him. And I was also really impressed with Eddie, since this was the first time he dealt with any creatures from the Upside Down, and he did a pretty good job fighting the bats. But then more bats showed up, so I was hoping that Steve, Nancy, Robin, and Jonathan were going to be okay. I was still hoping that even when they ran away from the bats, since they were still in the Upside Down. I thought it was funny when Dustin, Lucas, and Max told the police and Mike, Dustin, and Lucas's families that they were just taking a walk by the lake and thought that they would go for a swim and that they hadn't heard from Eddie. It was obvious to everyone that they were lying, especially Erica, who called them out. But it was still a pretty funny scene. Even though Lucas told Erica what was going on because she blackmailed him, she made a good point when she asked who opened the gate to the Upside Down. And Dustin was pretty smart when he realized that the gates could have been open because of Vecna's strong connection with his victims. And since they knew that the Mind Flayer wanted to take over the world, they came to the conclusion that it was using Vecna to open more gates. It was a surprise when Nancy, Robin, and Eddie went into Nancy's room in the Upside Down, and Nancy realized that her room in the Upside Down was from the past. It was also handy when Steve, Nancy, Robin, and Eddie realized that they could hear Dustin's voice since Dustin was at Nancy's house in the real world, and they were able to get Eddie to use Morse code with the lights so Dustin, Lucas, and Erica would know that they were in the Upside Down and they could communicate with each other. I was really happy to see Hopper and Joyce reunite, and even though there was no dialogue, David Harbour and Winona Ryder did amazing showing what Hopper and Joyce were feeling. And I can't wait to see Hopper reunite with Eleven and everyone else so that better happen. I was happy that Robin and Eddie were able to get through the gate that was in Eddie's trailer in the Upside Down, and they were able to get back to the real world. But I had a feeling that something was going to go wrong. And just when Nancy was about to go through the gate, she was put in a trance by Vecna, and Steve was yelling at her to wake her up. But while Nancy was in her trance, she learned the truth about Vecna. It was really sad when it was revealed that Eleven didn't kill everyone in the Hawkins Lab massacre. One did. So one took advantage of Eleven when she offered to take out his tracker, which was obviously not a tracker. It was something to subdue his powers. And the only reason that Eleven was blamed for it is because after she fought one, Dr. Brenner walked in and saw blood on Eleven, so logically assumed that she was the one who killed everyone. But hopefully he knows the truth now. It was was definitely a twist when it was revealed that one was Victor Creel's son Henry, and that he was responsible for everything that happened in the house that Victor and his family moved in, and that he was also the start of Dr. Brenner's experiments with children. It was also a big twist when it was revealed that one, aka Henry, was also Vecna, and that he became Vecna after Eleven sent him through the Upside Down. It's interesting that this is the first villain we ever got a backstory on, because if I remember correctly, we didn't get one for the Mind Flayer or the Demigorgon. I'm really excited to see what happens in Volume 2, but I'm also nervous because I think it's safe to say that everyone won't come out alive. Thanks for watching, guys! If you saw Volume 1 of Season 4 of Stranger Things, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. And if you want to see any of my previous Stranger Things reviews, check out the playlist. And if you want to see my review for Volume 2 of Season 4, or any of my other future videos, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.